loan sharks or mashonisas are in the spotlight, and in not a very good way. Recent investigations show many operate illegally and they charge sky-high interest rates. And to get their money back, they'll often seize people's bank cards, they'll take your ID, and sometimes even resort to violence. The National Credit Regulator and police say they want to step up efforts to shut down unregistered microlenders who they say are preying on desperate people. And what most people don't know is if a lender, is unregistered, the contract is essentially illegal and borrowers may not be obliged to pay, but in the real world, that's a chance many of us perhaps shouldn't take. We've got on the line Investigations Department Manager at the National Credit Regulator, Tebogo Ntsimane. A very good morning to you and welcome to 702 Breakfast.
Good morning, Bongani, and thank you for inviting me and to your listeners as well.
I've outlined a scenario where many people, because of the tough times and desperation, will go to a Mashonisa or these unregistered micro lenders precisely because they know the normal T's and C's and rules don't apply.
That's correct. Remember, when you go to a Mashonisa, there's no need to do a credit assessment and also to check the affordability of the consumer. So what usually then would happen is that there's an imposition of a high interest, which the poor consumer would have to pay back to the Mashonisa. And I like to example earlier that in the event that they are unable to meet those, obligations in terms of the money loaned to the consumer, then they do resort to these methods that are so unorthodox and illegal to recoup that money back simply because they have not done the necessary affordabilities.
There are many people who think this could be a way to make money on the side. So perhaps a group of friends will pull together money, stokvel type arrangement, and they'll start lending out money to people, quote unquote, they know. But even there, it's important to say, don't do it.
No, don't do it. If somebody's coming to you and saying, look, I'm going to give you, let's say, 200 Rand and my interest is 30%, that is excessive because in terms of our act, the issue of interest is well regulated. Your first loan that you advance from a registered credit provider, you would then first lend at 5%, and then thereon any other loans that you take out with that credit provider, it will be at 3%. So the act is quite clear as to how much interest should actually be charged. And we've seen 30, we've seen 40. It is excessive. And as a result of that, it makes the consumer not be able to then pay back the loan. And this is what leads to the high rise in actual violence and also trying to recoup that money in ways that I have described earlier.
Yeah.
But even if it is a side hustle, you have institutions like the Microfinance South Africa who are able to assist you in setting up a business like that and actually explaining to you how the regulations work, how the act works, how it is that you're supposed to be registered with the National Credit Regulator. We also have our efficient team in the registrations team that you can actually call through the National Credit Regulator to assist you in setting up this business. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it needs to have compliance. It needs to have accountability, and people need to understand that every statute in this country, it forms part of our jurisprudence and our law, and it's a rule of law that we need to abide by.
So are you saying that then if someone borrows from an unregistered lender, there's no obligation to repay?
Well, there
Interest
is. The
included?
contract is void. It's void. There is no contract. You are not registered with the National Credit Regulator. There's various cases that we have won in the National Consumer Tribunal, which have addressed that issues ad infinitum. That if you are not a registered credit provider and you go and you loan money, that consumer is not obligated to pay back.
But they don't at their own risk.
They do it at their own risk, and that's the problem. And this is where we say, please, you need to ensure that you educate yourself. You need to go on the website and verify if that credit provider is registered to avoid such issues. Our education department travels extensively throughout all the 9 provinces to make people aware of this. But this it still continues. No matter how much education we put out there, how many pamphlets, how many adverts that we do, the fact is there are people who are taking advantage of where we are economically in terms of the country.
All right, Tebogo, how closely do you work with the police as far as these cases? Because when we hear about violence or harassment or threats, when borrowers choose, for whatever reason, not to pay back and face those consequences, how ready are the police to assist them?
Well, that's our biggest stakeholder. In fact, it's the police in most instances that assist us with these raids. Remember, we're going to areas that are extremely dangerous, especially the inspectors in my office, whose identity you'll never even know, because they can just simply come up to your house and say, "Hi, listen, I'm looking for a loan." So what we are saying to these particular credit providers who are actually unregistered, or the mashonisas, for lack of a better word, we can come in at any time, and you can be caught at any time, because it would be a raid on that particular day. And we also work very closely with the hawks as well. I mean, you have people who are retaining SASSA cards, who are retaining people's IDs, who are using their personal PINs to go and access money. The article in the Sowetan was, in fact, it gave a beautiful depiction of actually what is happening. In fact, let me not use the word beautiful, but it just shows you how dire the situation is on the ground. And we do work very closely with the hawks and subs to try and eradicate such behaviors.
How many have you shut down?
We've shut down a lot, countless. And we've also got pending criminal cases now, where we are actually actively involved in criminal cases. We've got about 10 cases currently now that we're currently running as a department in the criminal courts. We've taken that stance as a result of the need to be more proactive, more present, and for people to understand that the regulator is not a toothless entity. We actually are taking action against those who are transgressing the law.
I appreciate your time. Tebogo Ntsimane, Investigations Department Manager at the National Credit Regulator. There you have it. If you've borrowed money from a loan shark, she says you're under no obligation to pay because the whole transaction and the whole contract is illegal in the first place. But I would say you make that choice at your own risk, don't you?
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions.
Your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.